Mr. Chair. Shouting fire in a crowded theater was dicta in a 1919 case by Schenck. It was overruled in 1969 by Brandenburg and put in an imminence requirement. So if we're going to continue to use it in this setting, whether it's the Twitter hearing yesterday or the hearing here today, let's at least get the law right. Secondly, as somebody who spent the first 10 years of my life defending criminal cases in both state and federal court, I think the genesis of the Garland memo is incredibly important. The point of the coordination between the DOJ, the Department of Education, and the National School Board Association was designed to create a federal nexus. Local school board incidents are prosecuted locally. We elect local sheriffs, we elect local prosecutors, we elect local judges. Only by fabricating a domestic terrorism nexus do you create a position where you can prosecute those cases in federal court. But I don't want to talk about that because I think we do have to talk about things more than the First Amendment. The timestamp data provides an intimate window into a person's life, revealing familial, political, professional, religious, and sexual associations. Only the few without cell phones could escape this tireless and absolute surveillance. Those are quotes from the Supreme Court's majority opinion in U.S. v. Carpenter. And while Carpenter is a limited ruling addressing warrantless monitoring of cell site locations under the Fourth Amendment, the court began considering whether the law needs to adjust to a digital world with extensive data collection and the analytical tools to operationalize that data. The federal government has realized the value of the massive amounts of commercial consumer data that is freely available on the open market. The data is produced to inform on aggregate population levels, but it also generates leads that produce investigations into individuals. In 2020, the CDC purchased cell phone location data from a data broker to monitor whether or not people went to church during quarantine. In 2020, the DoD obtains consumer data from a Muslim prayer app. In 2020, the Department of Homeland Security purchased cell phone location data to make enforcement decisions on the U.S.-Mexican border. In the summer of 2020 and the turn of the year in 2021, DOJ obtained cell phone location data on Black Lives Matter protests and every cell phone in and around the Capitol on January 6. 2022, several law enforcement associations publicly opposed a bipartisan data privacy bill because it would disrupt the ability to easily obtain certain consumer data. And in 2023, just this week, the IRS proposed comparing a waiter's reported income from tips to the tip data that's submitted by their employing restaurant. You may agree with some of these, you may disagree with some of these, but here's the thing. None of these third-party data acquisitions required a warrant. The amount of data available either directly or through third parties is both astounding and terrifying. Combine that with the advance in technology like AI, facial recognition, and more that will allow aggregation, analysis, and identification, and we are fast approaching a surveillance state with no assurances other than the promises of our government that it will not abuse this tremendous responsibility. Pegasus spyware, FISA abuses, alleged COVID vaccine databases, and even home temperature controls have already shown that the trust alone is not enough. Oren Kerr, a law professor and Fourth Amendment expert, has suggested that when technological change or societal practice significantly alters the balance of power in favor of the government, the law must change. Kerr calls it an equilibrium adjustment. The Carpenter opinion referred to it as not mechanically applying to the third-party doctrine. I would call it ensuring the Fourth Amendment can survive the 21st century. Mr. Turley, do you think we need legislative reforms in Congress suggesting this aggregate collection of data?
I do. Congress has struggled with this in the past. The courts have struggled with it. In Carpenter, the court said that you couldn't get just cell phone locational data without a warrant. It kept alive the Smith v. Maryland third-party standard with that exception. But Roberts, in that opinion, said, look, this is a serious amount of data that's highly personal for individuals, and it triggers the warrant requirement. You also had the court in Jones with the GPS decision in 2012, where that was actually observable movement of a car, and the court still said, you know what, this needs to have a warrant. So the courts have been trying to get their hands around this thing, but it hasn't really materialized in protection. So that falls to Congress as to what you can do about it. And I think there's a lot you can do about it. You can restrict these federal agencies. You can force them to satisfy a higher standard. And I honestly think that there would be general agreement on both parties that right now it's sort of the cloud is the wild, wild west. I mean, people are grabbing stuff from the cloud, and these companies have complained to you over and over again. I testified with a couple of these executives, and I was really sort of shocked by the desperation in their voices. They were saying, we need your help. We need you to come in and give us something here so that we can say no.
Thank you. I yield back.
I thank the gentleman.